The Book of Revelation for the World Today, a chapter-by-chapter study of what God has revealed about the future. Welcome to the Book of Revelation for the World Today. Our text is Revelations chapter 13, verses 4 to 10, and we will be looking at the world dictator, the Antichrist, who will seek to be worshipped and will rule over all nations and will be blasphemous. Before we continue reading, last week we learned that he is called the beast out of the sea. Many have tried to identify this man of sin. The internet is filled with bloggers and preachers alike, claiming that this political figure or that rival preacher is the Antichrist. That promotes plenty of confusion. Based on the descriptions concerning the Antichrist throughout the Bible, we do have certain facts about him. We know for sure that he will be very charismatic. He will be admired. He will be a smooth talker who will win people over through his ability to speak great things. The Antichrist will also be clever. He will be a master of deception, and that will help him achieve global prominence. The Antichrist will have the ability to be a successful military leader. Revelations chapter 6 verse 2 says that the Antichrist will go forth conquering and to conquer. As well as gaining military control over much of the world, the Antichrist will gain economic control. In Revelations 13, the infamous number of the beast, 666, is discussed, and it is related to his control of the economy. According to the scriptures, the Antichrist will compel all people to be marked with an inscription on their hands or foreheads. Only those who submit to him and his rule will receive his mark and be allowed to buy and sell. Last week, we saw that the Antichrist would come out of the Gentile nations and that he would survive a deadly wound. Now we get a better picture of this world leader by knowing three more truths concerning the Antichrist as prescribed in our text. He will be worshipped. He will blaspheme the God of heaven. He will have power to overcome the whole world. He will be worshipped. Verse 4 says, "And they worshipped the dragon who gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him?" The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. The dragon is Satan. Satan is the source of his power. The Antichrist is ultimately just an instrument that Satan uses for his diabolical agenda. His power is his ability to dominate. His throne is his position as ruler over all the earth. This will include authority over the whole world in the realm of economics, politics, and religion. When you see the activity of the Antichrist, you see the work of Satan. Satan is the prince of this world, and under the sovereign control of God, he is allowed to give authority to whomever he will at this present time. At this point, Satan gives all to the Antichrist. Now, to worship the beast will be to worship the dragon. Satan has always desired to be worshipped. He wants what rightfully belongs to God. These are so closely bound together that to worship the Antichrist is to worship Satan. Notice that John equates worship of the beast as worship of the dragon. It boils down to Satan worship. In worshiping Satan, men are doing what Jesus himself refused to do when he was tempted by the devil in the desert. Jesus quoted Deuteronomy 6 verse 13 to the devil, and he said, "Worship the Lord your God and serve him only." The men who worship the beast are all the inhabitants of the world whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life. Man is made to worship some absolute power, and in the last analysis, man will give his allegiance either to the beast, the Antichrist, or to the Lamb, Jesus Christ. In Luke chapter 20, verse 25, Jesus says we are to give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. It is right to pay taxes to Caesar, but only God should be worshipped. The moment that Caesar demands to be worshipped, he becomes a beast. In worshiping the beast, they are worshiping Satan, who gave his authority to the beast. The beast, in accepting the worship that rightfully belongs to Christ, becomes the Antichrist in the sense of instead of Christ and against Christ. In Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, we find that those who receive the mark of the beast receive it on their right hand, indicating action, or their forehead, indicating their mind. So those who worship or follow the beast do so in their actions and in their thinking. And as an application to Christians, the same thing is true. Our worship to the Lord should be by our actions and by our thinking. The world will be so overwhelmed with the Antichrist that they will believe no one is like him. They consider him incomparable. In their minds, he is unique in magnificence. He is the greatest and the highest. He, in their thinking, is the highest form of deity. He is seen to be a god. Now this is great blasphemy, because God alone is incomparable in greatness. In fact, the word holy means that God is separate from all else. He is completely unique. So this is the height of blasphemy against the true God. At this point in their deception, they don't think this world ruler could even be destroyed. They say, who is able to make war with him? They consider the Antichrist to be all-powerful, too great to fall. So we know he will be worshipped, and secondly, he will blaspheme the God of heaven. Verse 5 and 6, "And there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven." Note that the Antichrist has no power of his own. Rather, it is given to him for a limited time, for 42 months. God puts the limit on him, and because Satan wouldn't limit him. He wouldn't limit the Antichrist. In fact, Satan is angry because he knows he is limited and his time is short. The Antichrist will come equipped with a mouth that speaks great things and blasphemies. He will be a great orator, able to sway the masses with his speech, much like Hitler, who mesmerized people with what he said. 4 times in Daniel, it says he will speak great words. He will be a big talker. What he says will be filled with pride and grandeur. It will be persuasive and impressive. He will be charismatic beyond comprehension, and he will sway the world. He will talk so big as to make himself out to be God. To blaspheme means speak injuriously. It means to speak irreverently of God. It is putting self up and God down. It desecrates the holy God of the Bible. Verse 6 says, he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. He has no respect for the one true living God. He insults, offends, and is totally irreverent. The Jews had so much regard to God and for the name of God, they would not even use his most sacred name, that I will name Yahweh, for fear that they might use it in an irreverent way. Instead, they substituted what they considered the lesser name of Adonai. They did this with such frequency that eventually it was lost as to how to even properly pronounce Yahweh. This thinking was out of balance, but it does illustrate just how seriously they took the command not to use God's holy name in vain. The Antichrist doesn't consider that. The Antichrist will seek to put down the person of God, to demean and defame him. He will, without doubt, speak of God in vulgar and profane terms. Notice, he doesn't deny God's existence, but rather will blaspheme him. The Antichrist, in his pride-clouded mind, actually thinks he can pull this off indefinitely. After all, he had some kind of a resurrection, and he thinks he's God. The whole world sees him as invincible, and God allows him to have his way and go on this delusion for 3.5 years. But then comes his end. He also is said to blaspheme his tabernacle, or God's dwelling place, referring to the temple in Jerusalem and where God dwells in heaven. He will curse and express complete frontal challenge to the God who lives in heaven and to those who dwell in heaven. Again, it's amazing to me that he doesn't try to deny these things or these realities, but rather blasphemes them. Why would you blaspheme the things that don't exist, or you don't believe in? That's like the evolutionist who in the heat of debate says, I swear to God, there is no God. How can you say that? In fact, the language of both Daniel and Revelation suggests that the Antichrist does not deny the reality of God or his tabernacle or his followers. Instead, he blasphemes them. The Antichrist and them that follow him hate those who dwell in heaven. The Antichrist hates the God of heaven and all those associated with him, whether they be saints or angels. When you're full of this kind of self-seeking pride, you think you can do whatever you want and no one can stop you, not even God. Pride always thinks independently of God. Pride always has a more inflated view of self than in reality. Pride is a delusion because you really don't see how weak and vulnerable you really are. The last truth about the Antichrist is his power to overcome all nations. Verse 7 and 8 says, And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. It's also written in Daniel chapter 7, verse 23, that the beast devours the whole earth, indicating the extent of his power. The expression, it was given to him, refers to the satanic origin of his power. Acting as Satan's tool, the beast is able to wage war against the saints throughout the entire globe and overcomes them. Many believers in Christ among both the Jews and the Gentiles will perish as martyrs during this awful time of trial, while others are preserved in spite of all that the beast does. The ultimate in worldwide authority is indicated in verse 7, in that power was given to him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. The dream of countless rulers in the past of conquering the entire world is here, finally, and for the first time, achieved by the last Gentile ruler. The universal authority of the beast over the entire earth is coming. The dream of world conquest, achieved in part by the Babylonians, Medo-Persia, the Macedonians, and the Roman Empire, is now for the first time realized completely, and it is the devil's attempt to counterfeit Christ's millennial reign on earth. The Antichrist wants to reign on earth. The extent of his authority is global. He will literally govern the entire world. There will be no safe haven. This is the time of Satan's one world order. Have you ever asked yourself about Adolf Hitler? How could one man destroy the whole of Europe? How could one man win the whole loyalty of a highly educated, brilliant, intelligent civilization like Germany? He couldn't, unless there were hundreds of thousands of Hitlers all around him who shared his same satanic purpose. You know he couldn't have done that all by himself. Impossible. John Whitcomb says concerning Hitler, and I quote, "He was the most spectacular, visible manifestation of something we never could have believed possible in the hearts and minds of hundreds of thousands of German people." Well, that's how the Antichrist will personally appear and do all the things this book says he will do. End of quote. The time of this universal sway is clearly indicated in verse 5 as being for 42 months, namely the last 3.5 years of the 7 years tribulation, just before the Lord returns on earth. At this point, we know that Christ had already come and snatched away or raptured the church before the 7 years of tribulation even started. As declared further on in this book, there will be a gigantic world war right up to the return of Christ to the earth. It will not be in the air that he comes, as it was at the rapture, but Christ will come and set foot on the Mount of Olives at the Battle of Armageddon, and he will fight for Israel and establish his earthly kingdom. The Antichrist is coming. He probably is a mature man alive today. The world is getting ready for his reign. The time is at hand. Little time is left, if any. The book of Revelation has a message for the Christians. The message is, get ready now. Live for the Savior now. Dedicate your life to Him. Live for Him. For the time is at hand. So till He comes, until next week, God willing, may God bless you and make you a blessing.